So the news just surfaced that Mo Usman, the brother of UFC legend Kamaru Usman, has been suspended for 2 years and 6 months after testing positive for testosterone and deceptive conduct. Who would have seen that coming? Not the guy with a corrupt pharmacist for a father, not the guy who looks like a black Brock Lesnar with double D cups. No way! I'm completely shocked, horrified and disgusted that our great sport has once again had its reputation tarnished by such a monster. Nah, for real, no shit, Sherlock. It wouldn't surprise me if most blokes in the UFC are juiced to the gills, let alone the extremely obvious ones like Mo Usman. It's kind of embarrassing for him too. He's still that shit of a fighter, even with roids. I'm pretty sure the bloke never even managed to get a ranking at heavyweight. That is shameful. Pack her up, brother. You are cooked. But this news has got people talking, and it got me thinking about the legacy of the great Kamaru Usman, former multiple-time defending welterweight champion, widely regarded as the second best welterweight of all time after GSP. How much scrutiny is now going to be applied to his career, knowing that his brother pissed hot, and with what we know about his dad? Probably none, to be honest, but as an extremely skeptical bloke, the alarm bells are ringing louder than ever on Marty from Nebraska. More on him later. Anyway, all this shit got me wondering who the next blokes to burn a hole in their urine sample cup will be. I went through and analysed the current UFC roster and used my extremely in-depth knowledge of performance-enhancing drugs, which basically amounts to half watching a few YouTube videos from MMA Guru, More Plates, More Dates, and a few other jobbers. And I created this list of the top 10 guys who are probably on the sauce right now in the UFC. These 10, plus a few honourable mentions, are the ones who, in the words of the great Kevin Rudd, are absolutely getting their fair shake of the sauce bottle. So without further ado, let's inject this list straight into your veins, stick it up your ass, eat some tablets, however you want to do it. This is my list of UFC fighters who are definitely not, probably, maybe, allegedly, totally not, but maybe on the sauce. Allegedly. Did I say that? No accusations are being made here. This is all satire. We clear on that? Okay, let's punch on. Here's some quick fire honourable mentions before we get the list started. Israel Adesanya, the boob. This one has been discussed to death. Old news, I'll leave it there. Jared Cannonier, old ass man, one of the most jacked guys in the UFC, 41 years old, crazy physique, and has wild cardio too. Conor McGregor. Don't know if he counts as being in the UFC anymore, but if he does, then yeah, he's absolutely juiced to the gills. Gregory Rodriguez. Very close to making the list. Just look at the bloke and you will understand. Islam Makhachev. Part of a camp with a very rocky reputation around performance enhancement. Claims of IVs and other sus behaviour over his career. Also, just happens to be one of the greatest of all time. I've got my eye on you, goat husband. Okay, on to the real list. Let's punch on to number 10. Number 10, Azamat Murzakanov. Murzakanov has got to get this list started, boys. Check out this absolute unit. The world's most dangerous Uber driver. To be honest, he actually doesn't look that gassed up. His physique is nothing special. Bit of a blob, to be honest. And I know blobs. Takes one to know one, right? But the proof's in the pudding here. In 2024, Azamat Murzakanov accepted a 180-day sanction for violating the UFC's anti-doping policy. Murzakanov tested positive for the low-level presence of a metabolite of LGD4033, whatever that means. But he's a proven drug cheat, allegedly, and once a juice monkey, always a juice monkey. No wonder he's 16-0. Nobody wants to fight him, and yet he's still getting random shit matchups outside the top 5. Knocking out bulk blokes at light heavyweight, and he should be in line for a title shot, but instead he's taken on Paulo Costa up a weight class. Yeah, that's very sussy bucker to me. He's had a very strange career, this bloke. On top of that, you just know that without enhancements, this bloke would be a fat, pudgy plumber with a dad bod. But here he is, a top 6 UFC light heavyweight, and proof that cheaters always prosper, boys. You want something? Just go and take the most illegal but efficient path to it. Murzakanov is a clear contender for blokes drinking that pickle juice. I reckon this bloke's piss would melt steel beams. Let's move on to number 9. Okay, let me be clear once again. This video is satire and basically lies, so please do not take this shit seriously. But I've got my suspicions about Cyril Gane, and there's a few good reasons why. Firstly, Look at this bloke's physique. He's built like an Adonis. No homo, but I mean, come on. 265 pounds of pure, lean, muscled up beefcake at heavyweight is pretty hard to come by these days. Even the past few champs we've had have had a bit of cushion for the pushing, if you know what I'm saying. Damn, this video's already getting so zesty, bro. Look, Tom's got a bit of blubber. John Jones had been in a good paddock when he came up. Stipe's just got a dad bod. DC, I mean, you know what I mean. The last elite heavyweight contender who we had, who was completely jacked beyond belief, was Brock Lesnar. And that bloke was so overinflated with hormones and roids that he looked like a fucking Coles chook. Juiced up to the absolute gills he was. He's getting bloody almost doping banned from the WWE. Oh yeah, and I forgot about Ngannou, but he was probably on the sauce as well. So in a division full of pasty, sloppy, fat NFL rejects, Ciryl Gane is the exception, not the rule. That's got alarm bells ringing already. Second, this guy openly admits to barely training. I can't remember the source, so don't quote me on this, but there was some interview where Ciryl was banging on about how he barely trains in between camps and he just plays FIFA, works on his film projects and whatnot. That's very interesting. A bloke who looks like this, who barely trains, I mean, come on. You don't look like that without either some serious work in the gym or in the laboratory. I've got absolutely zero cold hard evidence to indict Ciryl Gane here, but any excuse to slander this man's name is okay by me. So he's going on the list. Even if he is completely natty and lives on a diet of protein shakes, chicken, and plain rice. I still reckon this bloke's a suspicious unit, and it would not surprise me at all if he popped one day. Complete industry plant, Dana White privilege all over him. Yeah, fuck Ciryl Gane. He's my number 9. Number 8. Michael Chandler. Okay, here's another guy who I just enjoy roasting. Again, no evidence, not claiming any kind of cheating or suspicious behaviour here, but there's some red flags going off around Iron Mike. Number 1, this guy's dick don't work or something. I don't want to go too in depth here because there could be like a legitimate fertility reason why Mike and Bree have gone down the black kid adoption path. But I'll just say one of the side effects of PED use over long periods of time can be reduced sperm production and risks of infertility. It's a well-known fact that roids can mess with your junk. So for a healthy, athletic bloke with a chiseled physique of Michael Chandler, it's very suspicious that he's resorted to adoption. Again, could be a legitimate medical thing going on there, so I won't roast him too hard, but you got to admit it's a bit on the nose. Number 2, roids have been known to make your voice do some weird shit, like go hoarse and drop and stuff like that. Listen to him when he made his big call out of Conor McGregor. Conor McGregor, holla at your boy. Sounded like a 15-year-old bloke whose balls just dropped the day before. Very strange sounding voice. Not to mention the fact that he's popping out of his body, insane vascularity, and ripped to the shithouse. Yes, you can get that from clean training and doing it natty, but in a world full of secret PED abusers, Chandler stands out as having a particularly defined physique. Wouldn't surprise me if this bloke brines himself in pickle juice and creatine every night, if you know what I'm saying. Oh yeah, and this guy screams small dick energy. Just listen to him. His personality is the strangest mixture of soy boy, beta cuck, and like giga chad alpha male you've ever seen. Very hard to get a read on Michael Chandler. Not to mention the random periods of inactivity, generally accepted as him waiting out for the red panty night, but you never know. I bet there's a ton of guys who have served doping suspensions without us ever knowing about it, disguised as injuries or like waiting out for certain matchups. Chandler's UFC run has been very questionable, and his performances and fight IQ suggest this bloke's a bit addled by substances. Michael Chandler, see you at the top of the punch-ons, fighters on the Source rankings list. Number 7, Arman Tsarukyan. Another bloke whose physique alone makes him a strong contender for suspicion. Arman Tsarukyan is a strange character, man. He's a bit of an enigma. Bro, that word is hard to say safely. That is a dangerous word. His career just does not make any sense to me. Go onto Instagram and all you see is Arman driving around in Lambos and eating gigantic piles of delicious looking food. But then you look at the bloke's physique. Again, no homo, but he'd have to have one of the best physiques in the UFC. Fuck, I'm starting to feel like Hoppero MMA, bro. We need the UFC back, boys. It's starting to get to me now as well. Anyway, look at this photo of Arman when he was 17. That's insane. Was this guy being breastfed TRT as a baby or what? There's plenty of people who agree that Arman's very likely to not be on the garlic sauce. PED expert, strength and conditioning coach Adam Lusby took to Instagram with some grievances in the lead up to Arman's cancelled title fight against Islam Makhachev. He said, "They are not even hiding it anymore. It's just that they are not even hiding it anymore. It's just so blatant now. At least have some common decency to eat some extra muffins or have some extra cookies or reduce how much you've taken. But no, they are just like, who cares? USADA's gone now. Let's just go for it." He further added, "And I don't want to hear it in the comments. I do not want to hear anything about how this is just vegetables and prayers. It's not, guys. Just stop being silly now. Am I jealous of his body? Yes, I am, as it had me questioning my own sexuality. But yes, the facts are the facts. And the fact is, this man might be, I don't want to get sued, might be juiced out of his fucking mind." Yeah, that's just one guy who said that. I'm just one guy. But the whole Arman pulling out of UFC 311 and then not fighting for another year was very suspicious. We never really got true confirmation of what that was all about. Some speculate it was an injury. Some say he was going to miss weight. But it would not surprise me if there was a sneaky little PED pop in there and Arman had to have a little holiday while the picograms finished pulsing through his body. This guy comes from a family of millionaires. He doesn't need to fight. He's sleeping in silk sheets. You can't imagine he's the type of dude to live like a monk or grind his ass off for the physique he has. So it's just all a bit shady to me. If Arman is natty, I'd be very, very surprised. Number 6. Merab Dvalishvili. Merab is the machine of the UFC. This man does not stop. He's got the most insane, inhuman gas tank in UFC history. It's only that he lost to Piotr Jan last year that some of the mystique has started to wear off for Merab. But make no mistake, Merab's cardio is unfair, unrealistic, and very suspicious. Not to mention he's from a part of the world that's basically the wild, wild west. Anything goes in Georgia, a country with a population of under 4 million, and yet they have some of the nastiest UFC fighters of all time. Dolidze, okay, nothing special, but he's a jack-looking unit with an unnatural amount of chest hair. Ilia Topuria just happens to have the craziest hands in the UFC. And Merab, basically the Energizer Bunny. Endless cardio, never shuts the fuck up, and just mogs everyone with pure cardio, despite having very little in the way of talent or technique. I say that respectfully, but if Merab was a video game character, his striking would be like a 55, his wrestling maybe a 70, but the cardio stat completely breaks the game and makes your PS5 explode. If there was no round limit, like if fights just went on until one guy got finished or quit, Merab would be pound for pound number one and the greatest fighter of all time. It just doesn't make a lot of sense. No fighter has ever had the cardio of Merab. I still can't believe Piotr Jan actually managed to pull it off. In hindsight, he's kind of the perfect fighter to beat Merab. Just a nasty little fucker with an unbelievable ability to damage you, and it showed that even though Merab could just keep going and going, Jan was able to piece him up, do damage, and take the wind out of him with his accurate shot making to the body. Anyway, Merab. There's no way this guy is this way through just jogging on the treadmill. On performance alone, there's a 99.99999% chance that Merab is taking an illegal amount of hydrolyte before his fights, if you know what I'm saying. I love Merab, bro, but he's a very strong contender for this list. At number 5, it's Paulo Costa. Dude, I don't know, you guys. I have a sneaky suspicion Paulo Costa might be on some shit. Hear me out. I'm not crazy. We're going deep into hypothetical conspiracy mode here. You're going to have to follow the breadcrumbs and connect the dots. You know, A squared plus B squared equals C squared type shit. Guys, I think maybe, possibly, conceivably, potentially, Paulo Costa may be on the secret juice. Bro, this guy is literally hiding in plain sight. He's juiced to the absolute gills, and the UFC just doesn't give a fuck. He legit walks around with a bottle saying secret juice. He sells merch of it. Now, we all know that this is a big meta joke from Paulo, but there's no way he wasn't making this list. This man is built like a literal brick shithouse. He's cooked, retarded, funny as fuck, and honestly one of my favourite fighters of all time, despite the fact that he never fights. Paulo is jacked and strong, dumb as dog shit, completely shredded to the bone, and yet he manages to find a way to always lose important fights. Then, every now and again, he'll come out looking like the best fighter in the world and dominate a dangerous guy like Roman Kopylov. Paulo's form ebbs and flows in somewhat of a cycle, if you know what I mean. Either this guy has a contact at USADA or whatever it's called now, or the UFC owes him a favour, or he's just playing us all for a fool and he's actually the most aesthetic natty bloke in the universe. But yeah, come on man, Paulo is playing up for sure. He has to be on the list. Okay, now we're getting into the guys who have been getting away with it for way too long. These guys are completely taking the piss with how obvious it is. The reason why the UFC's anti-doping organisation does not have a shred of credibility, because if they did, none of these guys would be fighting in the UFC. Look, I'm okay with it as long as it's even for everyone, but some of these guys, they just blow my mind with how easy it is to tell. Number 4, Carlos Leal. This guy has more acne than a 14-year-old Z main on League of Legends. Look at this shit. They couldn't even airbrush the photo a bit to make him look more natty. This probably is airbrushed already, to be honest. Man, I know people get acne naturally and from other things other than roids, but come on, bro. Look at the state of this man. He looks like your Uncle Pete, who's a bricklayer, and he just got fed the maximum dosage of pickle juice as like a lab experiment and then decided to go fight in the UFC. This bloke came out of nowhere, jacked as fuck, acne and backney all over him, starts being a menace in the UFC, and we're just going to pretend like this shit ain't suspicious as fuck. I'm not buying it, bro. Once again, I have absolutely no evidence to go off. This entire list is completely based off vibes and is in no way an indication or an accusation of misconduct. But let's just say if I was betting on a fighter to burn a hole in the urinals at the UFC PI, this guy would be on my shortlist. Same with this bloke. At number 3, a guy who has made some headlines lately for, let's say, going up a cup size randomly during his fight week, growing a boob, and then putting on his most impressive performance of his career. No, I'm not talking about Israel Adesanya. I'm talking about Manel Kape. Bro, I'm feeling a certain type of way just looking at this picture, eh? I'm very confused right now. Why are they so perky, bro? Why are they shaped like that? That is the nipple of a man without a regular balance of testosterone and estrogen in his body. I'm not a doctor. I'm just a fat, bald-headed fuck. But something ain't right here. That shit looked like gyno to me, boys. Enough right there for me to put this bloke in the top 3. And that's not to mention this photo. I mean, come on, man. I thought I was looking at Halle Berry for a second there, bro. Why do I feel like I can just look at these fighters and do a more accurate doping test than the ones being given out by the UFC's anti-doping agency professionals? It stinks like shit, bro. Manel Kape, sick fighter, probably going to get a title shot this year, but this guy's either got a really good lawyer or a really good doctor or a really good photo of Dana White, because this angry little fucker is on the sauce for sure, but the UFC seems to not give a singular fuck. Coming in at number 2, a bloke who you all would have expected to see high up on this list. A man born from a test tube in a Brazilian laboratory. A man who legit looks like he's a clone or an AI fighter or some shit. But a man who is most definitely, certainly, unequivocally not on the Big Mac sauce. Jailton Almeida. This guy started his MMA career at welterweight and has juiced his way up to being a top 5 contender in the UFC heavyweight division. The one thing that stands out to me about Jailton Almeida, apart from the obvious of how he looks, is how insane his grip strength and wrestling game are, despite having not that insane of a technique. Like, yeah, he's a good wrestler and his opponents are usually fat, dumb bozos who have never defended a takedown in their lives, but he's taken and holding down these bigger guys with such ease. I feel like that's one of two things, either retard strength or secret juice strength. Has to be one of the two. Maybe even both. What doesn't make sense, though, is how the UFC hasn't caught this guy. They obviously hate him. Look at how that Volkov decision went. I personally didn't have too much of a problem with that decision, but in the usual way of how the UFC judges fights, that should absolutely have been an Almeida win. So if they're not keen on having him fight for the belt, why not just pop him for roids? I feel like you could put a dipstick within a 100-kilometre radius of this bloke and it'd light up like a Christmas tree. This bloke is shredded to the gills, barely talks, just grunts and wrestles. He's got a massive head, a very impossible physique. I don't know, man. I don't know a lot about roids, but if someone asked me to draw a guy who's juiced up, my little stick figure dude would look a hell of a lot like Jailton Almeida. Number 2 fighter I'm most suspicious of in the UFC. And finally, at number 1, we have a man who I've been sus on for years. A man who has survived multiple eras of UFC doping organisations unscathed, almost hilariously. The math just ain't mathing with this guy. Plenty of accusations have been made by other YouTubers and fans alike. There's a shit ton of evidence pointing in the direction of this guy being the king of marinating himself in PEDs. Of course, I'm talking about the CEO of EPO himself, Marty Fake Newsman, Kamaru Usman. So let's just list the reasons why this guy is not doing a fucking boatload of roids. Look at the size of his head. Look at the acne and bacne on him. Look at the physique. Look at the cardio and forward pressure he had in his prime. Look at the very suspicious family history. At first, we only had the confirmation that his father was a convicted corrupt pharmacist in Nigeria. That right there is enough to raise red flags. Now we get this new story of Muhammad Usman, his brother, popping for PEDs. It's too much, bro. There's no way Kamaru is tied in with all that and looks and fights the way he does, and yet he's clean. Not an Ice Cube's chance in hell. In this fantasy imagined delusional land I'm talking about, of course. No accusations being made here at all. Supposedly, his knees are completely fucked to the point where he can't run. This was back in his prime, mind you. He had to walk down the stairs backwards or something. And yet, in the cage, he's got 5-round cardio, great wrestling and takedown defense, and knockout power. He has random extended periods out of the sport in between fights. He's a very sus individual, this bloke. It would not surprise me one bit if he retires and a bunch of stories come out about him. So, yeah, Marty Fake Newsman, the CEO of EPO, he earns that title, and he earns number one in my list of guys who I wouldn't trust around a jar of pickles. So that's the end of the list, boys. Let me know in the comments which fighters have raised your suspicions, which guys you think have been marinating in creatine, and which guys you think will be next to follow in the footsteps of Mo Usman and Hamdi Abdel Wahab. Like the video if you enjoyed this cooked speculation, subscribe to Punch-Ons for more cooked lists, and give us a follow on IG too, at Punch-Ons MMA. Catch you blokes later. I'm going to have my vitamins. I'll see yous in court. Punch on!